Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa String Works Workshop. It is Friday the 13th. Should we even plan on having this today? Should we just give up now or should just go ahead and go for it? I'm not superstitious really at all. Yeah, I walk under ladders on a daily basis and dare cats to walk in front of me. Black cats, that is. Anyway, I hope everybody's doing well this morning. I'm in as good a shape as I can be for the shape I'm in. So I think we got a somewhat interesting shop talk for you this morning if you like to look at old photos. And I'm going to ask your help in identifying one of the old photos. There's something in there. I'd like for you all to see if you can tell me the vintage year. And this stupid chair is squeaking, driving me crazy. Hope it's not bothering you too much. Now I drew your attention to it. You'll be hearing it the whole time. Let's see, a few housekeeping things is I'll remind you if you have a question or a comment or a topic, please put 3 question marks in front of it before you post it there in the comment section so that way I can find it easier. And now I just realized I didn't pull out the comments from yesterday. I was so busy this morning getting ready for stuff, I forgot to do that. So maybe I can do that on the fly. I don't know. I'll give it a shot. But anyway, I wanted to remind you of that. Put your question marks in front of it. And Mountain View, Arkansas, October 19th through the 22nd. We will be there. So I guess that's next week. Man, time's getting away from me fast. This was earlier this morning. We were at 99,608 subscribers. And we're growing at a rate of 2503 for the last 28 days. That's great news. The other double-edged news, which is good and bad, is JR just passed 90,000. If he passes me at the last second, I'm seriously telling you, you just have no idea how rough that is going to make the rest of my life. You just don't know. You have no idea. I took off yesterday. I spent time talking to Bill, in the morning after the vlog concluded. Bill Webb is here from Commerce, Texas. Bill, just became friends after watching us on YouTube there. And he's been here I think this is his 7th trip up here. And he stays at the rental retreats and things. And for those of you who are new and don't know, we do have I refer to it as a rental retreat. It's a Airbnb, really, by today's standards or today's terminology. We have a really nice full-size house. It's really just 2 bedrooms, but they're big bedrooms, and it's it's got a great room and a kitchen area there. Really nice. It's both of them. Both units are very nice. The one's pretty big. The other one is pretty small. The other one's like an efficiency apartment. And this is I think the first time that Bill has stayed in the efficiency apartment. He's always stayed in the other one before. But the efficiency apartment has everything you need also. I mean, it's even got a washer dryer. So everything's you're accommodated pretty well at either one of them, and they're both really fixed up nicely. So if you're wanting to come here and stay, you can start the process on my website. There's a tab there. It says Valley Springs Ranch Retreat. And down in there, those links will actually take you to Airbnb to, confirm your reservation and everything. Well, I mentioned I kind of took off yesterday. So then yesterday afternoon, I decided I wanted to do some more metal detecting because it was such beautiful weather. And before I could do that back there where I want to metal detect, I thought I need to cut the grass down short. So my idea from this point forward is to take this finish mower that we have for the back of the John Deere and, just mow 2 swaths down through the field, one down and one back. And then I'll just metal detect that area down and back and try to find stuff. That way it I'll be sure to cover the area better. Go ahead and get you a seat here, Bill. Just take one out and have a seat. And the only thing I found of any kind of significance yesterday, I found, bullets and all kinds of stuff, but nothing old. These were all just modern type bullets and things, and a lot of trash. You just find lots of junk. But the only thing I found of any kind of significance at all was this. And some of you will go, what in the heck is that? Well, it's just a cow tag, and most people call them ear tags today, but this is heavy. This is like brass or copper or something. It's not magnetic. It's either that or maybe some kind of pot metal. I really don't know. I haven't scratched it up to see what it is, but anyway, you can see number 34. So my question to you is, was this number 34? This is an old photo just from, it says here 1965, April 1965. There you can see in the margin. This farm was a big cattle operation for a long time. It was owned by Mr. Gerber, and you'll see a few pictures, and I think he's in one or two of the pictures here. And apparently he had a meat packing company, and he raised his own Angus beef. And I don't know, the whole story or anything, but that's just the story I've heard. But anyway, he must have had these kinds of cow tags all over the place, because in addition to finding this one yesterday, over the last couple of years, I found these other ones too. And they're all really heavy, so I don't know where they hung these on a cow. They're just too heavy, I think, to put on an ear. They're really, really heavy. And it seemed to me like if you put them on their ear, they would for sure tear out of their ear, because if you poked a hole through their ear or whatever. But I don't know. But like I said, that was the only thing of any kind of significance that I found yesterday. Everything else was pretty much trash. And let's see. I've got quite a few photos to go through. It won't take very long to go through them, so if you want to post your questions and comments, feel free to do that while we're going. Here's set number 1. Now, in these two photos, I don't know the year these were taken, but they could be anywhere from the 1930s, which I kind of doubt because they're aerial photos, but they could be from the 1930s to maybe even as late as the 50s. I really don't know. What makes me think they're fairly early is because there's no bridge across the creek. You can see where they're starting to build it. Right there in the photo to the left, you can see those 2 white spots on either side of the creek. And it looks like they were grading out and starting to pour the forms to build the bridge. Because that's where the bridge is today that we cross over, and the road just goes straight up, pretty much straight up from there. Now, in this photo, the road cuts way over by the barn. Well, in present day, the photo goes right through where I think those looks like animals are standing there. So the photo pretty much just goes straight up the hill toward the house. And then the photo to the right, you can see that the road, the county road's coming in from up above, coming through, and then, I don't know, right about where those trees in there, before you get to that house, you can see that that's about where our gate is today, or our fence line is today, or it's back probably a little further than that even, now that I think about it. Anyway, our fence cuts across there somewhere, and now that pond would be in that blank area there, which would be across the creek from the barn. Like if you're looking at the barn, if you go all the way across the creek in that blank area, that's where our pond is today. Or at least that's, about where it is. So it's crazy. I really, it's hard for me to even visualize and decide how old these photos are, but it's quite changed from this. If you look at that house up on the upper left, they tell me that was the original house place on the farm. And then if you look slightly down from that old house, down and I guess you'd say to the left, there's a building there. That building is now where the rental retreat sits. The rental retreat sits there. That's where I burnt that building down. It was way beyond repair. I burnt that building down and then built my workshop there, which is now the rental retreat. And the only thing I could tell you about that building is that I have a feeling that was for hired help, or, and I hate to say this, but it could have been for slaves. And the reason I say that, no, I doubt it was slaves, because, well, yeah, I doubt it was slaves. I really doubt it. It had almost be hired help, because I don't think that old house is that old. The old house, I think, is from the 1880s. So I don't think I doubt it could have been for slaves. But anyway, that building that's there was built like a shed, but it had window screens in it, and it had old metal bed frames in it and stuff. So somebody stayed in it, and I assume it would have been hired help. That's all I can figure out. And anyway, so those are just two old aerial photos. And what I was getting at is that Mr. Gerber, everybody said he was pretty well off. And I think you can kind of tell that from some of these pictures that we're going to be showing you. And, maybe he hired somebody to take these aerial shots. I don't know. I have no idea. But here's the next photo. Let's see. This is one of my favorite photos of the farm. This was the original log cabin. Now, to get your bearings, the barn would be basically straight in front of that house. This is the back of the house. So the barn is down the hill straight in front of the house. The old farmhouse would be up on that next hill. So this is, but this was the original log cabin that was supposedly built in the 30s. Now, this photo was taken May 1937. So this is not as old as the old farmhouse, but it's the original log cabin house. And presently, that house is inside our house where we live now. Most of that still exists, really. The part of that log cabin you can see to the left is my present-day man cave. And those two horizontal windows that you see in the middle section there, those are actually inside our house today. You can see them there. And then the little building on the right, or the little section there to the far right, I believe is our cupboard, and there's a closet there too also. So anyway, that's how I think it all lays out. And you can see how the creek goes down to the right of that. Well, eventually they build onto the left end of this log cabin, and they build another house on the other side of the creek eventually. So actually, neither one of those buildings were attached. They built a building to the left, which I don't know why they built it exactly, but they built a building over to the left, and then they built a building over to the right in this photo across the creek. And then later, they roofed over all of it and made it all one giant house. And when you build your house all the way across the valley like that, then it becomes a dam. So they had to put giant pipes under the house to let the creek keep flowing through. Yeah, it's crazy how it all evolved. But that's May 1937. So here's the next photo. And this is, of course, in the front of the house. And again, that building to the right there that you see, that's where my man cave is presently. And I assume that's Mrs. Gerber. I don't really know. It won't take long to get through the rest of these, I don't think. Here's the next one. And I guess this is Mr. Gerber, but again, I don't know that for sure either. And they have looks like a big old Great Dane dog or something like that. I'm really not sure what that is. Can't tell. In another photo, you can see the dog better, and it looks like it's a Great Dane. But anyway, you can just see how they kept the place pretty nice, and that you can see that curvy sidewalk. And that's basically where the sidewalk is today, but you can see this sidewalk was a stone sidewalk. Later, they put the sidewalk there in concrete, and it's curved in concrete. And then I guess I'm assuming, again, Mrs. Gerber there on one of their horses. And there's, I assume, Mr. Gerber on one of his horses in the front yard. And then this photo here, this next photo, I'm hoping somebody can identify that car. because I know nothing about cars. I'll just tell you right up front. I'm worthless when it comes to identifying a car. I don't know what year that would be. That one looks like, if I was guessing, I'd guess it from the 30s, maybe from the 40s. But I'm just guessing. Don't know anything about it. So if anybody from that little fragment can identify that car, I would love to hear what you think it is, because I sure don't know. And I think that concludes all the photos and things that I had to show you this morning. So I hope you enjoyed seeing that. The way we got those old photos was that the boy, the story I heard, I think he was adopted in the late 40s or maybe early 50s. I don't really know. Him and his brother were adopted here by the Gerbers, and apparently they were adopted to be workers, because that's the way his name was Bill, and he said that's all his father did was make him work. I can relate to that. I know how that was. But Bill says he is responsible for pouring every bit of the concrete you see around here. Every bit of it he poured. And I don't doubt it. He mixed it by hand and poured it. And there's a lot of concrete around here. And, and that bridge and everything, I think, was all poured by hand. And I think Bill did it. Or Bill and his brother. At least based on everything he told me. So, anyway. But if anybody can identify that old car, I sure would appreciate you sharing what you know about that. Let's go through the comments and see where we're at here. Anyway, I started to tell you where we got the photos. It was from Bill. He came back and visited with us, and he gave us the photos. Let's see. Ken Solo was the first one to ring in before we went live, apparently. Then Ronald Lewis. And it looks like there's Guy Bros, or B-R-O-S-S. Hey, Jerry, last idea on hands. Do you think Hoka mace you some gloves? It would fix your hands. If Hoka made you some gloves? No, I don't think so. I don't think there's fixing on these hands. I really don't. Maybe I'm just too pessimistic, but I don't think you can fix what I have. I don't think it's fixable. It's just there. I don't know. Carolyn Fike, good morning from Greenville, Tennessee. Let's see. She's got something about the Revolutionary War there. It's how General Nathaniel Greene spelled his name. Oh, okay. This entire county was gifted to him for the Revolutionary War service. Wow, cool. And there's Greg Lance from Sydney, Australia. Cool. Very cool. And Yolanda's Music is checked in there too. And moving on down, I'm just looking mainly for question marks. Lots of people rang in before we went live this morning. It says we have 126 already. There's Chuck Heidbreder, I see, from St. James, Missouri, and Bill and I will be in St. James, Missouri this evening at that jam session. It's good and bad. The jam session these days, it's all the old-time pickers are gone. There's just, I'm it, and I was one of the newbies. So it's crazy, I was one of the newbies to those jams, and I'm kind of like the last man standing from the original crew of people that used to go to them. All right, so let's move on down. After we went live, Milan Toombs was the first one to ring in there. And we got C. Wilczek from Cheshire, Massachusetts, Gordon Bartlett. And then we've got Dottie with some question marks. I had to use arthritis gloves. Have you ever thought about trying them? I did try some kind of gloves. I can't remember what they were. I got these hands, these giant hands. Nothing fits good or works. And I think most of those arthritis gloves just go around this part. But Honestly, I just don't think there's a fix. I don't. I'm really done with it. I really am. It just is what it is. But I appreciate everybody trying to help. I've tried so many things. You really just don't know how many things I've tried. And I've talked to specialists. I've gone to hand specialists, and the hand specialists, keep in mind, I mean, these are the guys that they buy their Porsches by doing operations and by fixing people's hands, and at least what they think is fixing their hands. That's how they afford their, yachts and giant houses and Porsches. And when he took one look at my hands after he did the x-rays, he goes, "You're too far gone. I can't help you." That's what he said. Now, if that guy says that, I'm thinking it's pretty far gone. So anyway, that's just the way I look at it. But, again, my mom and my dad both had very severe arthritis. My mom's was worse than mine. My mom's was the crippling, weird-looking kind that just twists your finger, rheumatoid type, that twists your hands all up into knots. My dad's was more like what mine is. They say I have some of that symptoms of the rheumatoid also, but mine's the osteo, or whatever you call it, that my dad had, is primarily what I have. And my dad's was so bad that he quit working at about, I don't know, in his 50s, I guess, and he just didn't do anything. So I feel like I've been blessed to keep going as long as I'm going. So, anyway, that's just the way I look at it. Bill Mumbo, Jerry, I had a creaking like that. It turned out it was my knees. I've had that, believe it or not, I've had that sound in my knees. I really have. And not lately, but I have had that sound, so I know what you're talking about. Yeah, let's see here. I'm just intrigued by the name there, Kamil Orzechowski. He just says hello, and he's from Poland, UK, it says. Okay, well, cool. Thanks for being here. Okay, the next question marks is the spoken song in a future vlog. Would it be possible for you to show us around your 2 rental homes? Yeah, that's a nice idea. Yeah, I'd have to pre-film it because I can't do it live, unfortunately, I don't think. But, yeah.
You'd have to get Ramona out of bed this morning.
Yeah, I'd have to get Ramona out of bed, and that wouldn't be no fun.
Still in bed.
Yeah. We went out to, well, I got pizza. Of course, you know me with my weird taste. My pizza is basically a cracker with some bacon and hamburger on it. I don't know. What did you have last night?
I eat it that way. I had the spaghetti and meat sauce, and Ramona had the manicotti. It was good eats. I really...
Yeah, it's Emo's Pizza. It's I think it's a local chain. I'm not really sure, but they're in St. Louis, I know, but there's one in Rolla. And anyway, I really do like their pizza. Their pizza was the very first pizza that I ever ate that I actually liked. And like I said, see, I order it with extra light sauce. And sometimes I order it with no sauce. But I say extra light sauce. And I really emphasize that to them. Because if it has just a little hinge of sauce, I'm okay with that. But boy, if you put it on very thick, it's not edible for me. And then, I like just the bacon and just hamburger. So my wife says it's just a cracker with hamburger and bacon the way you eat it. And it's pretty much true. But anyway, it was good. Yeah. Yeah, Dean Barnes says these are neck chain. Yeah, I that's what I think. But on the other hand, that doesn't make very much sense either. And the reason it doesn't, I mean, I get it. I mean, I know what you're saying. But, cows have their heads down all the time. The chains are going to be rolling off their head, and unless you have some way to tie them on, and, cows get down and the flies bother them, they shake their heads, these are going to come off. And there's no way to put them on tight, because if you put them on tight, then the cow will grow into it. And so I don't know. I don't know how they attached them. Again, to me, around the neck made the most sense, but it doesn't make sense, really. When you think about it from a farmer's perspective, that doesn't make sense either, really. So I mean, I get it, but I don't get it. You know, it's one of those deals. But they must have had a bunch of them, because I found 4, already, and there's no telling how many more are out there. There's probably 20 more out there. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot of things that when I find with metal detectors that I just can't reason it out, and that's one of them, really. I mean, it makes no sense no matter how you did it. The only way I could see this making sense, with as heavy as it is. Now, I mean, it's seriously heavy. Feel that, Bill? Tell them that it's heavy.
Yeah, that's pretty heavy.
It's heavy. It really is heavy. The only way I can see that making sense is if they hung it on their halter, like if they put a halter. But that doesn't make sense either. And the reason it doesn't is because when animals have their heads down grazing, they'll step through their halter with their foot. And then they're hung up, and yeah, it's not good. So anyway, it's crazy. All I can tell you is I've been there and done that, and I've been thinking about that, and I still can't make any sense out of it. It doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't. And I do have a couple of other pictures of their cows that they gave me, and none of them showed these tags on them anywhere. So I don't know. I still don't know where they came from. But I'm fairly sure these were cow tags. I don't know what else they could be. Maybe they were something else. Maybe they were something else. I really don't know. Terry Anth has some question marks. Good morning. For all the videos I've watched, I've yet to see you using duct tape. Your thoughts on duct tape? Just a random thought. My thoughts on duct tape. I use it, but you know what? I kind of have settled on one particular thing, and it's the, and I had it, I actually could even say the word when I started this, and now I can't think of the word. It's the black one. What do you call that? The black one? Shoot. Gorilla. It's the Gorilla tape. I've settled on the Gorilla tape. It works pretty good. I don't use it for fixing things like most people do. I pretty much only use it to hold stuff together, like if you're wrapping around a cord or something, or something like that. I don't typically use it to fix things. Like I sure don't fix water pipes and stuff like that with it, like a lot of people do. So yeah, I mean, I think it's good tape, but it's good for like wrapping a box or doing something like that. Blair Turner. Where did you get all the photos of the farm? Yeah, well, that's like I was saying, that adopted boy, Bill, his name is Bill Gerber. He was adopted. And his brother, I don't know his brother's name. But anyway, Bill came back and gave us those photos. I think he came back twice, I think. But anyway, for sure, one time, and he gave us those photos, which I thought was really cool. He just wanted to come back to see what the farm looked like today, and he couldn't believe that we fixed it. Because I think he had been back when the previous owners, I'm not going to mention their names, but the ones that destroyed the farm, and I mean destroyed is not a strong word. They destroyed this farm. When I bought it, the only reason I could afford it, and I've told this several times before, but the only reason I could afford it was because the previous owners that we bought it from literally destroyed this farm. They had, everything that could was and did. It was just, everything was rotted down. Everything was just piled up with trash. You just don't understand what trash is until you saw this place. It was everywhere. It was everywhere. And the really ironic thing, and I'm not making this up, you'll think he's got to be exaggerating. They had, I would say, a minimum of a dozen brand new galvanized trash cans sitting around, and there wasn't not one thing in any of them. And I'm not making that up. That's the truth. There was just trash everywhere. The first 3 years, I think it was, We killed more than a dozen copperheads every single year around these buildings. More than a dozen every year for the first 3 years. Now we rarely see a copperhead. I see them out in the woods. I don't bother them out in the woods. I just don't want them right around the buildings because I've mentioned my best friend before. Gary Bickmeyer was his name, the guy that couldn't really shoot a bow, but he could track. Well, his grandmother, and I can't think of her name right now, but I knew her. But anyway, she was the old-time farm lady, real old-time farm lady, and just like my old great-grandparents were. And she had been bit 2 or 3 times by copperheads by walking in her chicken house. The copperheads would be there, So, yeah, it's not real good to have copperheads laying around because they will get you. Anyway, moving on. Let's see here. Moving down through here. Dottie says she thinks it looks like a 1932 Chevrolet. Maybe a 30 Chevy, somebody else says. So let me go back to it. And there's another look at it. I don't know if I can blow this up more, but I'm going to see if I can. And it might be really messed up here, but I'm going to give it a shot. See if I can blow it up some more. And just try to blow up that section there. Might give you a better look at it. Then it gets really grainy the bigger you make it. But you can kind of see that little tiny house back there behind the car or on the far side of the car, that little house. That's called we call that the carriage house. It was just like a 2-story building. The upstairs was a living quarters. And the story we got was in the top of that little building back there is where Mr. Gerber lived while he was building this front big log cabin. But he lived in that little upstairs area. And even to this day, it's almost livable. I mean, it's not fixed up at all, but it wouldn't take a lot to fix it up where you could live in it. But anyway, so there's that old car. If you can identify it, I sure would appreciate you telling me.
I got dibs on the attic.
What?
I got dibs on the attic apartment.
He's got dibs on that. So anyway, if you can tell me, so that at least we're on the right track. It looks like a couple of people are saying 30s Chevy. So if that helped you identify it better, let me know. I'd really like to know. I would say that the photo was probably taken in the late 30s, maybe early 40s, but I kind of even doubt that. I kind of think it was 30s. There's Marigold Tyne again from Sweden. Nice to see you. There's Bo Horn he says, the car looks like a late 40s Plymouth. Okay. My dad had one we called the Blue Goose. Okay. Well, we've got 2 opposing factions now. Of course, a Plymouth is a GM also, so a lot of times the Chevys and GM, or the Plymouths and it is a GM, isn't it? Or
no,
Plymouth?
It was Chrysler.
Plymouth was a Chrysler?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm thinking of something else. I'm thinking of Pontiac.
Yeah.
I think Pontiac was GM, wasn't it? Or am I wrong there too? I don't know. I told you I don't know nothing about cars. Why am I opening my mouth about cars? Because I know nothing about cars. And you might say, how can you be this old and not know anything about cars? I never cared about cars. And I'll tell you what, they there's just another funny side story. My mom and dad had to make me go get my driver's license. And you might say, huh? I mean, they did. And the reason was because I knew exactly what I was in for when I had to go get it. I was going to be working even more because I'd be driving my dad's trucks and stuff. And I didn't even want it. I knew what I was in for. And sure enough, that's what happened. At 16, I'm pulling trucks and trailers up and down the highways all the time, Anyway, so that, I think that was part of the reason I never cared anything about cars and trucks. My dad had so many of them, and I don't know. It was just another one of those work things to me. It wasn't a fun thing, like most kids would have thought. Okay, Jason Wallen says, what happens if animals eat the rats that have eaten the poison? Well, that's a good question, Jason, and it is a possibility. I would say that 9 times out of 10 that won't happen, and the reason is because almost always the rats go back to their dens and hide. They get sick and they die underground most of the time. Hardly ever, and I mean hardly ever, do you see them above ground dead. Sometimes you can smell them and maybe smell where their hole is there, but that's about it. So for the most part, that's not even going to happen. But I think it also says on the thing that it's not an issue if an animal eats the dead thing. But it could be. I mean, I'm not going to try to justify that part of it. But I just don't think that's going to be an issue really. And the rats, to carry that a step further. And I'm not trying to make fun of anybody. I'm not trying to make light of anybody. I'm not trying to call anybody out. I'm just trying to explain the reality of the situation because so many people don't get the reality of it. And the reality of it is when I say impossible, I absolutely mean impossible to rat-proof a farm like this. You can't do it. It's impossible. Now, like for instance, let's just say, first of all, how would you rat-proof this building? There's so many holes and things. It's just impossible. It's an old building, and they've got tunnels under the concrete. They got tunnels everywhere. There's just no way. All right, and if they don't have a tunnel, they'll make a tunnel. So a rat's going to get in someplace on anything. That's problem number one. Problem number two is like the only building on this farm at the moment, besides the houses are pretty much rat-proof. And I say pretty much, as far as I know, they're rat-proof. But like the big metal building down there is an example. I could rat-proof that one probably because it's a big metal building. But how many thousands of dollars do you think it would take to rat-proof it? I mean, you'd have to pour a concrete slab 42 by 72. And that's above my pay grade to do that work. I couldn't do it myself. I'd have to hire that out. I'm saying $40,000 to $50,000 just to do that is my guess. If you hire, especially under today's rates, because I know I've gotten bids in the tens of thousands for a real small pad already. So yeah, it's just not practical. It's not common sense. There's no way you can do it. Like, for instance, our old barn. You'd have to burn the barn down and build a new barn. There is not one chance on this earth that you could ever rat-proof that old barn. It's built with old logs and built with old timbers. You could throw a dog through it anywhere, and there's just no way you could do it. The only way you could do it would be if you dug a foundation all the way around it and built a big metal building over the top of it and enclosed it. You could maybe do it that way. And you'd have to pour that all full of concrete too. It's impractical. It's impossible. It ain't even a thing. And, like I said, if you don't keep after the rats, then all they do is chew up everything. And they chew everything. Like, you can't have a car or a truck that won't get the wires chewed off of it. And I'm not talking about one or two. I'm talking every vehicle on this farm has had rat damage. Every vehicle. And you just have to stay after them. It's just a way of life in the farms. It's reality. It's common sense. It's, the people that think you can control stuff like that, you just really don't understand the reality of the situation. You think you do, but you don't. You don't have a clue how the situation really is. And any old farm is like that. There's not a farm on this planet that's not like that. And even the modern farms fight it. I mean, even farms like, I watch the young gal, Laura Farms. She does a good job. Even those kinds of farms fight it. And they don't talk much about it because they know it's not a popular subject. And I don't mind talking about it because I figure, that's what I'm here to do, is to explain things and educate people on things. And trust me, folks, you can come here, and if you can show me how to do it, I'll do it. But it has to be practical, has to be reasonable, has to be cost effective. It ain't. None of those things. None of those things. That's probably my last word on it, but seriously, that's just the reality of it. Chip Wood, morning, Jerry. Just wondering if you hear of your mandolins come up for sale. No, I never do. Well, I mean, I say never. There's been one or two over the years, but it's pretty rare. Yolanda's music. Unfortunately, sometimes there is no fix, just pain management. That's why I take meloxicam. I have a friend who had the ones where the hands were slanted, straight to the left. Very painful. Yeah, that's the rheumatoid type. Yeah, it's not pretty. And like I said, I feel very fortunate that I've gotten away with it as long as I've gotten away with it. Now, you have to understand, I complain about the hands because I work with my hands all the time, but I have it all over my whole body. Since 2003, I think, roughly, I have not been able to lay down and sleep in a bed since 2003. I've had to sit up to sleep because as soon as I lay down, the pain just starts going crazy. And it takes about 5 minutes, but I can lay there for about 5 minutes. But after 5 minutes, it starts hurting so bad. It hurts all the way up my spine, my ribs, everything. I just can't do it. So it's, I complain about the hands, but it's all over the body. It really is. Cup of Cool. Would you do a hand size comparison of your guests so we have a sort of a visual view?
Yeah.
Can you see that? Knuckles ahead, like right there, Yeah, they're huge. They're not sort of big. They're huge. I mean, I'm not lying when I tell you. I'm seriously not lying. I've never met one single person in my life, my height, that has hands as big as mine.
Let me get in the camera. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm in the camera. You might have to move over a little bit. Yeah. But honestly, I've never met anybody my height with my hands this size. Believe it or not, my granddaughter's the closest one to my hand size. The day she was born, I said to everybody, she's got my hands. And then nobody noticed that. And then they looked at her hands, they go, oh, wow, she really does have long fingers. And she did, and she does. It's crazy. It's really crazy. Yeah, I have met guys way taller than me, like 6'6", that have hands as big as mine. But they got to be way bigger. And it went out of focus just because it could. It's Friday the 13th. Why did it do that? I don't know. I don't know why it did. Well, you just have to live with it until it decides to change, because that's what's usually... It's so dumb. It's so dumb. Okay. Paul Walton, I call it Rice Krispie knee because of the snap, crackle, and pop. Yeah, I really have had mine sound that way. Actually, it was when I was much younger. I don't remember doing it in a long time, but when I was much younger, mine would creak. I would bend down and they'd creak. Why won't that focus? It's so dumb. It's so dumb. I just don't get it. It's not good. It's just because it can. It's the only reason. There's no other reason. It's Rose's Law. I'm telling you for sure. That's what it is. Okay, let's go back to this. It looks like, well, maybe, I thought Elizabeth had a question mark there, but I don't see question marks. She's talking about her arthritis, it looks like. Oh, no, she says, hope your arthritis is not too bad today. Mine does seem to react to the weather. Yeah, I don't pay attention to the weather is my problem. If I were to pay attention to it, I probably would notice how the weather's affecting my arthritis. But I'm not a guy that cares about the weather. I never have cared about it. I never have listened to the weather report. Not ever. I mean, like as soon as it comes on, like in the old days when you were watching network television, as soon as the weather came on, I'd either get up and leave or I'd turn it to a different channel or something. I just never did like the weather. Now, my mom and my wife, they live by the weather. But I don't. Why won't it focus? Oh, that is so annoying. It's just so dumb. It's just so dumb. I don't know. It's a little bit closer, maybe. Not much. Oh, well. Stuff happens. All right, moving on down. Dottie says... well, she does. I don't get what she means. She says, that's the reason you are finding so many neck numbers. What's the reason?
Because they're falling off or...
Oh,
off.
because they were around their neck and they fell off? I mean, it's possible, but I'm not finding any chains or anything attached to them. I only find this.
Yeah, and the hole's not tore out.
Yeah, the hole's not tore out or anything. So I don't know. And all of them have this shape here, except this one. And this one's round, which I thought was weird. So it's a different maker. It's also slightly different shape, but very slightly different. The rest of them are all that same exact shape. I don't know. I would like to know how they put them on, though, because it just doesn't really make sense to me. No matter which way you do it, it doesn't make sense to me how they would have done it. David Tharp, good morning. It looks like a long one there, but I don't see any question marks. He says he started watching for the luthier content, but feels we became friends. Well, thank you, David. I feel the same way, and I really do appreciate it. He says, I owe you much. Thanks to your instruction and inspiration, I have successfully built a ukulele and 3 guitars. Cool. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I used to get the comment before Caleb. I used to get the comment all the time that I should get an apprentice. Get an apprentice. Well, that's kind of what led up to getting Caleb. I wish that would focus. It's driving me crazy. But anyway, Caleb. I just put out a request if you wanted to apply to be an apprentice, and I think 6 or 7 people applied, and I just chose Caleb out of the based on what he said, and anyway, it worked out. I was really happy that I ended up with Caleb. But where that started out was we used to always make that comment about you need an apprentice. You need an apprentice. Well, I always said back to them, I got 30,000, 20,000 apprentices. You know what I mean? By the number of people watching the videos and stuff. And you kind of proved that out there, David, that you learned how to do things or build things from watching, which is very humbling, really. I mean, I'm really pleased with that. Again, for those of you who may be new, I started this channel not for the reason it is today, but for the reason of I thought it might bring in a little bit more business. I was so naive about it. I had no clue how it would affect my life, really. I just thought I'll put out a few videos. Maybe it'll bring in a few customers and maybe help me save this farm. Because at that time, 10 years ago, I wasn't financially stuck yet, but I could see I was on the path to it. I knew that in a few years, I'd be broke, and I wouldn't be able to keep this place going. And I knew I was going to have to sell it. So I started telling my buddy Ron about that, and he was upset. He's like, you cannot sell this place. There's just no way. And so I thought, I got to do something to figure this out. And so that's why I started with the first few YouTube videos. I thought, well, it'll bring in a little business. And it did that. It started bringing in a little business. And therefore, I was doing a little bit better. I could see a little further down the road, but I could still see I was going to go bankrupt eventually. You know what I'm saying? And it just kept growing and snowballing and growing and snowballing and growing. And so you guys, honestly, and I'm not making this up when I say it, I'm not being dramatic, but you guys saved my farm for me. And I'm not kidding. And I'm forever grateful. Okay, moving back to comments here. Let me see if I can. I think Hugh O'Connor has some question marks there. It says, definitely cattle neck tags, almost identical ones available from Farm and Ranch Depot. Okay. Yeah, I just never, what bothers me about it is that they're so doggone heavy. And how did they attach them? That's the only thing that bothers me. They make sense that they're cattle tags. I mean, what else would they be? That's the only thing I could think of. But I don't get it. I still don't get how they attached them. I mean, my son says they put them on their ear. I'm going, this heavy thing on their ear? I mean, I guess. I mean, it would work. A cow's pretty stout. You could do it on their ear. But it still don't make sense to me. That thing, a cow turned their head, this thing would smack them upside the head, So I don't know. Might even put their eye out. Let's see. Ronald Lewis. What year is your old truck seen in your old videos? The old truck out there is a 1957 F350 dump truck. It's a 1-ton dump truck. I've hauled as much as I think I had, I'm not sure. I think the truck and the load in the back weighed 13,000 pounds, and the truck was half of that. So I guess I was hauling 6,000 to 7,000 pounds worth of gravel in the back of it. That's a lot on a 1-ton dump truck, but it seemed to handle it no problem. Let's see. Yeah, Teddy June says, I remember my younger brother driving a loader when he was 9-ish. I understand the waiting to get your driver's license. Yeah, if you grew up like I did, I'm not going to say I dreaded it. I kind of sort of wanted it. But on the other hand, I knew where it was headed when I got it. It wasn't like I was going to be driving for fun. I knew I'd be driving for work, and that just kind of elevated me to the foreman, line. And so like I'm 16 and I'm kind of like in charge of all these guys out there working, cutting grass and stuff, Yeah, whatever. Yolanda's music. Rats are horrible. If you don't keep up with them, they will overrun a place super quick.
Yep.
Farm girl here, totally understand. Yeah, I'm sure it's hard for people that are never from this environment to understand it. I'm sure it's hard. But I can also tell you, look at your inner cities. Are they rat proof? Can you rat proof them? Show me how. It's just not possible. When you got and see the thing about here, what you don't get, and you can spend money and spend money and spend money and spend money. You got to find the economical way to do it, because for every rat you get rid of, there's at least 40, 50 more right out there in the weeds waiting to come up here and take his place. I mean, they're thicker than fleas on a dog, and I'm not kidding you. They're everywhere. The biggest pain in my neck when I'm cutting hay out there with the sickle bar is cutting through a rat's nest, and it just clogs up the sickle bar is those little teeth that cut back and forth like this. Well, those rat nests are so thick, it'll get in there and it'll clog those teeth up, and then it won't cut. And so you're dragging through the hay, and you got a big wide strip this wide that's not cutting because a rat den got in there. And trust me, it happens all the time. You can't make one circle without it happening. So yeah, you're just totally, and I don't mean this in a mean way. I just mean it reality way, that you're totally naive if you think there's a simple option to it or a simple solution. You're just totally naive. Let's see. Hugh O'Connor says rats can go anywhere. I have them climb a brick. Oh yeah, absolutely. They're the old farmhouse. They're in the attic of the old farmhouse. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I haven't fixed that up for a bed and breakfast yet. I haven't been able to figure out how to, and I don't think it's possible. I may just end up, as bad as I hate to say it, I may end up just destroying that building and getting rid of it because it's so far beyond repair, really. I mean, it could be fixed, but it's thousands upon thousands of dollars to fix it. Just throwing money, and I don't even know if it's worth fixing because you're just throwing good money after bad, I think. So I don't know. It would kill me to have to take that building down because it was the original farmhouse, but I don't know what else to do with it, honestly. And it's mainly because of the rats. And, well, it's also the termites. The termites had gotten into it so bad.
Snakes.
Huh?
Snakes.
Yeah, snakes too.
Last
yeah.
time we were up here, there was a big snake come out of that one corner.
Oh, yeah?
I saw him twice.
Yeah. Well, see, for me, the snakes is the least of the problem.
Yeah.
I could almost care less about this, other than the
I'd rather
copperheads.
have-
I don't want copperheads,
I'd
but
rather have the rat snakes than the rats.
yeah, I'd much rather have the snakes myself than the rats or the termites. Either one, honestly. In fact, if those would get rid of the other two, I'd be hauling snakes in, especially if they get rid of the termites. Okay. Richard Busby says Jimi Hendrix had long fingers. Yeah, I don't know, but I wouldn't doubt that. D. Davis is making a comment there that says the Open AI program indicated that they had heavy metal tags were attached to the cow's ears using rivets or bolts. And again, I get it. That's the only thing I can think of, the only way these could be attached. But the problem, I still think, is that's got to make the ear sag, and this, turning their head fast, swatting at flies or whatever, it's going to smack them upside the head, I would think. And like I said, even possibly hit them in the eye and knock their eye out. I don't know. It just seems kind of strange to me. But I'm sure that's probably what they did. They probably put them in the ear. And it's probably why you find so many of them, because they probably tore out of their ear and then they hit the ground. It's probably.
Pictures I saw on the internet show like a split ring through that, and then the chain through the split ring. So the split ring was probably the weak link, and that's why the tags.
Could very well be. I don't know. But there's no, so far of the 4 I've found, I haven't seen a single a piece in the hole or attachment or any other thing with it, So it's just the tag. So that would indicate to me that they probably put them on with some kind of a twine or some kind of something like that would rot away, because there's no other indication anywhere. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I totally guessing. Let's see, moving down, Lester Cunningham says, you're blessed to have huge hands. You can reach lots of frets on a mandolin. My hands are small. Yeah, oddly enough, that's the odd thing about it. Mandolins are tiny, but the chords are big. The chords on mandolins, I mean, if you use the Bill Monroe chords, you stretch out for them. There's other ways to do it, and you can keep your fingers right together on a mandolin, but I use the Bill Monroe type chords, and those are really stretchy. I mean, they even stretch my hands.
I can't reach them.
Yeah, a lot of people can't reach them, but most people can reach them after a lot of practice, and especially if you're young enough when you start. I've had 10-year-old kids that can reach them. I mean, they can do it, It takes them a little while, and they think at first they can't do it, but eventually they find a way to do it, Let's see. Bill Mumbo, Jerry, with my cataracts, everything is out of focus. Yeah, well, this is the longest it's gone out of focus. Why did it do that? We didn't do anything. I don't think we touched anything when it went out of focus. It just went out of focus. I'm probably going to be getting a different camera because that's starting to bug me. More money. That's all it is. It don't cost nothing. Let's see. Moving down here, I've lost my place. I'm looking for the next comment there. Wayne Armstrong has question marks. Looking at the humpback trunk, it's a 36 or 37 GM car. My brother had a 37 Chevy when he was back from the Navy in 58. Now, see, I kind of think, I don't know nothing about it, but I just from looking at it, it looked like it was a 30s type car to me. So a 37 Chevy really does make a lot of sense to me, and the reason it does is because the old cabin was built in the 30s, and it just kind of falls in line with that, and wouldn't surprise me if it isn't like a 37. If my dad could see it, he was a nut on cars like that. I guarantee you, he would look at it and go, "That was a 37," and he would know exactly. But not me. Cup of Cool says maybe you should wear boots on your hands since you have feet of fingers. Okay. I think I know what you're trying to say. Let's see there. Bruce Hines also says he feels like we're good friends. Thank you, Bruce. I appreciate it. I feel the same way. I've always greeted with everybody with, "Hello, my friends," because I just always feel like that's the way we want to keep this channel. I never wanted it ever to be adversarial, and there's sometimes people come on that way, and those people get blocked. It doesn't matter if you criticize me. I don't have a problem with being criticized. I have a problem with really rude criticism. If you can say, "Well, I don't like how you did that. I would have used X, Y, Z," I'd say, "Fine. I get it." But if you say, "You're a blankety blankety blank idiot, kind of blankety blankety blank, and you did this wrong, and you don't know you're blank from a hole in the ground," well then you're out of here. See ya. Goodbye. Don't need you. Let's see. Moving down. There's another question mark here. Jeffrey Show, a lot of the farmers around here in Ohio use twine, so if they get caught on something, it breaks. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me either. It wouldn't really surprise me, honestly, if we were back in that time period where they were using these. It wouldn't surprise me to go out there and see a whole bunch of cows with torn slots in their ears where these have tore out. That's what I would expect to see, honestly. That's what I would expect to see. Okay, the last comment I see here says, Eric Sandel, at least you can buy rat poison. Here in Finland, you have to have a pest control firm do the rat problem. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me that either. We do enjoy a lot of freedoms here in the United States, that's for sure. It's less regulated, but even here, we've got a lot of regulations that don't make a whole lot of sense to me. I enjoy my freedom, and I will fight for my freedom. I guarantee you that. If people start infringing on my freedoms and my rights, they have met an opponent. I guarantee you that. I'm not one to back down. I will come at you right in your face. Let's see. Oh, Eric says, sorry about the automatic spelling corrections. That's okay, Eric. If that was the worst thing that happened, I'd be in real good shape. Well, this thing doesn't want to cooperate today. We've been on an hour now, so I think that's where we're going to end it today. Thank you all again for being so nice. Right at the moment, we got 132 viewers according to my records here. I didn't put it on live chat today. I left it on top chat, so I didn't notice any difference, but apparently there's a difference. Like I said, I looked that up on YouTube, and everybody that explained it none of their explanations made any sense to me whatsoever. I mean, I didn't. So either they didn't understand it either, and they just talking like they did, or something, because it didn't make any sense to me, the explanations I heard. We will see you probably Monday. Hopefully I'll get some kind of video out this weekend, but I haven't even started on it, so I have no idea what it'll be or if it will be for sure.
Let me just say, if you're a Rosa Stringworks fan, you owe it to yourself. If you can only do it once in a lifetime, get up here and stay a couple days at Spring Valley Ranch. You will be impressed, and you will be glad you did it. This place is just amazing. We've been up here so many times, and we'll keep coming back as long as we're welcome. I tell you, you don't understand till you've been up here. So
Well,
if you can make it, come up here and stay a couple days.
thank you, Bill. I do try to be the same on camera as that I am in real life. Probably the only difference, and I've been honest about this before too, is that I do say the 4-letter words way more than I wish I did. But I do, and that came honest from my dad too, because he was that way. I've told you before, my dad was uneducated. He only went through the 6th grade, and he had a hard life. He made a good life out of it, and he provided really well. But other than that, I would say everything you see on camera is pretty much exactly like real life. And I try to control the other, but I just not very good at it, unfortunately. Gonna let that be the last word, and we will see you when we see you.